Imagine walking through a storm and not even flinching. Not because you're numb, not because you don't feel, but because you've built something deeper than emotion. A foundation that doesn't crack every time life shakes. You've probably seen people like this. They don't chase attention. They don't react when provoked. They don't beg life to go their way. And yet, somehow, everything seems to work out for them. It's as if they're tuned into a frequency the rest of the world can't hear. A kind of quiet power. A presence that doesn't demand anything, but influences everything. We tend to think strength comes from force, from being louder, smarter, tougher, but the deepest strength is invisible. It's the ability to stay still in a world that never stops moving. Still not in action. Still as in unmoved. Still as in untouchable. You see, most people don't live this way. Most people are constantly reacting. Something happens, they respond without thinking, without breathing, without awareness. Their lives are tugged by every emotion, every opinion, every inconvenience. Like leaves tossed in the wind, they think they're choosing, but they're just surviving. And it's not their fault. That's how most of us were conditioned. To believe that emotions are in charge, that thoughts are facts, that the world determines our state of mind. But what if that's not true? What if your inner world didn't have to mirror the outer one? What if the chaos around you didn't have to become chaos within you? That's what this video is about. The art of becoming emotionally untouchable. Not cold, not indifferent, but sovereign, grounded, free. And it all begins by confronting one uncomfortable truth. You are not reacting to life. You are reacting to how you perceive life. Most people spend their lives chasing control over their relationships, their careers, their image, their future. They micromanage conversations, overanalyze texts, try to predict outcomes, and obsess over what others think of them. Because somewhere deep down, they believe, if I can just control everything around me, then I'll finally feel safe inside. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. The more you try to control the outside world, the more power you give it over you. You want people to respect you, so the moment someone disrespects you, your entire mood collapses. You plan every detail of your future, so when things go sideways, your mind spirals. You expect life to be fair, and every injustice becomes a personal attack. Control becomes a prison. You lock yourself into outcomes. You cling to expectations. And when reality doesn't cooperate, you suffer. But what if you never needed to control anything? The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond our power." You can't control what people say. You can't control what tomorrow brings. You can't control the chaos, but you can control how you meet it. And here's where the paradox begins. The less you try to control the world, the more control you gain over yourself. And the moment you master yourself, the world loses its grip on you. Stillness isn't found in controlling the storm. It's found in no longer needing the storm to stop. So the real question becomes, are you building peace, or are you just trying to protect your chaos? Have you ever wondered why certain comments cut deeper than others? Why one insult rolls off your back, but another one sticks in your chest like a knife? The answer isn't out there. It's inside. You see, no one can emotionally wound you unless they hit something that's already there. The insult doesn't create the pain, it reveals it. Carl Jung described this as the shadow, the hidden, unconscious part of you that holds everything you've denied, rejected, or buried. Your insecurities, your guilt, your fear of not being enough. And when someone says something that presses on that shadow, your mind doesn't just hear words. It hears confirmation of your deepest doubts. If someone calls you a failure and you laugh, it's because you know you're not. But if the same word lights a fire inside you, ask yourself why. That reaction is a mirror. It reflects something you haven't yet healed. This is the harsh reality. Your emotional triggers are not about the other person. They are messages from within pointing to a wound, a belief, a part of you crying out for awareness. Most people run from these moments. They defend, deflect, or distract. But the ones who truly evolve do something radical. They look in the mirror and say, "This isn't about them, it's about me." When you stop reacting and start reflecting, you begin to take your power back. Not because the world got kinder, but because you stopped handing it the keys to your peace. The next time something triggers you, don't rush to fix it or blame it. Just pause and ask, what part of me is this really touching? Because once you understand the mirror, you're no longer controlled by the reflection. What exactly is being threatened when you feel offended, disrespected, or dismissed? It's not your soul. It's not your core being. It's your identity, the version of yourself you've constructed to survive in the world. And the problem is, that version is fragile. It's built from labels, achievements, roles, opinions, things that can be taken away in an instant. You define yourself as intelligent, so a moment of ignorance feels like failure. You define yourself as liked, so rejection becomes unbearable. You define yourself as successful, so any setback feels like a collapse of who you are. But who were you before you believed those things? Most of us have mistaken our mental story for our actual self. And so we protect it at all costs, defending, comparing, proving. This is why people overreact. Not because they're weak, but because their identity is always under threat. It's like building your house out of glass and then panicking every time the wind blows. Spiritual traditions have warned us about this for centuries. Zen teachings, Stoicism, and even modern psychology all point to the same truth. The ego is not who you are, it's who you think you have to be. And when your entire emotional state depends on maintaining that illusion, you become reactive, sensitive, trapped. But there's another way. You don't have to defend the story. You don't have to protect a fragile image. You can return to what's real, something deeper than the identity, something unshakable. Because when you stop identifying with the mask, the insults don't land. When you know you are more than your labels, the chaos doesn't touch you. And when you no longer need to prove who you are, you become free to be. Next, we'll explore how your mind learns to react and how to undo it. By now, you might be wondering, if we know reactions are harmful, why do we keep having them? The answer is simple: habit. Emotional reactivity isn't just psychological, it's neurological. Every time you react impulsively, your brain reinforces that pathway. Like carving a groove into a record, it makes the reaction faster, stronger, harder to resist. You feel disrespected? Anger. You feel ignored? Shame. You feel uncertain? Fear. Over time, these patterns become automatic. You're not choosing your emotions anymore, they're choosing you. This is how most people live. Not responding to reality, but replaying internal scripts, old wounds, childhood conditioning, cultural messages, reacting not to what's happening, but to what it reminds them of. Here's the problem: the brain loves familiarity. It doesn't care if the reaction hurts you, it only cares if it's been rehearsed. So unless you interrupt the cycle, you stay trapped in a loop. Same triggers, same emotions, same outcomes. But there's good news. Neuroscience also shows us something powerful. What's been wired in can be rewired. Mindfulness, cognitive reframing, exposure therapy, these aren't just concepts. They physically reshape the brain. They weaken the old pathways and build new ones. It's like training a muscle. The first time you pause before reacting, it's uncomfortable. The second time, it's slightly easier. And then one day, silence becomes your default. You hear the insult, but you don't flinch. You feel the pressure, but you don't collapse. You recognize the trigger, but you don't obey it. That's not suppression. That's evolution. You're not becoming less emotional. You're becoming more conscious. And the more conscious you are, the less the world can control you. Up next, we'll unlock one of the most powerful shifts of all, the observer effect. Imagine watching your own reaction rise, but not being consumed by it. You feel the anger, you notice the anxiety, you catch the judgment forming, but instead of acting on it, you just observe. This is where transformation begins. Not in suppression, not in force, but in observation. The Stoics practiced it. Zen monks lived by it. Modern psychology calls it metacognition, the ability to think about your own thinking, to step outside the storm and realize, I am not the emotion, I am the one watching it. This is what separates the reactive from the unshakable. Most people are passengers in their mind, driven by whatever emotion takes the wheel. But when you step into the role of the observer, you become the driver. It's a subtle shift, but everything changes. Instead of being anger, you become the awareness of anger. Instead of being fear, you become the witness of fear. And suddenly you have a choice, because the moment you see your reaction, you are no longer controlled by it. Think of it like a dream. You're running, panicking, until you realize, wait, this is just a dream. That moment of awareness doesn't erase the dream, but it changes everything. Now you're awake inside it. That's what it means to become the observer. It's not detachment, it's clarity. You're not numb. You're just no longer owned by every passing emotion. From this space, you can respond with wisdom, not reflex, with power, not panic. And the more you live from this place, the quieter the chaos becomes. But if perception is the lens through which we see the world, what happens when we change that lens? That's exactly what we'll explore next. Two people go through the same storm. One drowns, the other dances in the rain. Same event, different perception. This is where most people misunderstand reality. They think their suffering comes from the world, but in truth, it comes from the story they attach to it. A breakup doesn't destroy you. Your belief that you're unlovable does. A job loss isn't devastation. It's the fear that you've lost your worth. A rejection isn't failure. It's the meaning you assign to being told no. Perception isn't just interpretation, it's creation. It turns facts into feelings, setbacks into suffering, moments into identities. And yet, most of us never question it. We trust every thought, every reaction, every narrative as if it's law. But here's the secret. The lens is not fixed. You can change how you see at any time. Cognitive psychologists have proven this. When we reframe our thoughts, our emotional response changes, sometimes instantly. Shift the lens, and the same event becomes a teacher instead of a tormentor. A delay becomes rest. An insult becomes insight. A failure becomes feedback. This isn't just mental gymnastics, it's liberation. Because once you reclaim the power to assign meaning, the world stops defining you. You define it, and the moment you realize that nothing has meaning except the meaning you give it, you become untouchable. Next, we'll explore a critical distinction most people get wrong: the difference between emotional detachment and emotional disconnection. There's a misconception that being emotionally untouchable means being cold, uncaring, indifferent, shut down. But that's not detachment, that's disconnection. True detachment isn't the absence of emotion, it's the mastery of it. It's not about closing your heart. It's about not handing it to everything that knocks. You still feel, you still care, you still love, but you no longer drown in every wave that hits, because now you choose when to swim and when to float. Disconnection numbs you. Detachment frees you. Disconnection says, I don't want to feel this. Detachment says, I'll feel this, but it won't control me. One is fear dressed as strength. The other is strength born from awareness. Think of it like this. You are the sky. Emotions are the weather. The clouds roll in. The rain pours. Thunder strikes. But you, the sky, remain untouched. This is why those who appear the calmest aren't necessarily suppressing their feelings. They've just stopped attaching their identity to every passing mood. They know that peace doesn't mean silence. It means inner stillness in spite of the noise. So when someone insults them, they don't shrink. When life shifts course, they don't panic. When emotions rise, they don't run, they watch. That's real detachment. Not disengagement, but sovereignty. And the beauty is, anyone can learn it. In the next section, we'll get practical: how to actually train your mind to respond this way day by day. Knowing the theory is one thing. Living it, that's where everything changes. So how do you train your mind to stop reacting? How do you become the calm in the chaos? Not just once, but every day. It starts with awareness, not after the reaction, but before it. And that requires building a pause, a split-second moment between stimulus and response. That's where your power lives. Here are a few tools to sharpen that pause and strengthen your emotional muscle. 1. Mindful observation. Set aside just 5 minutes a day. Sit in silence. Watch your thoughts without judgment. Label them: anger, fear, craving, doubt. This trains your brain to separate identity from reaction. You are not the thought. You are the one witnessing it. 2. Trigger journaling. Each time something upsets you, write it down. What happened? What emotion came up? What belief or wound did it touch? Over time, patterns emerge, and once you see the pattern, you can change it. 3. Reframing in real time. When something goes wrong, ask, what else could this mean? Is this happening to me or for me? This isn't toxic positivity, it's mental flexibility. And the brain responds to it. It rewires. 4. Exposure to discomfort. Put yourself intentionally in mild discomfort. Take cold showers. Delay gratification. Have difficult conversations. Every time you lean into discomfort, you weaken the grip of fear and strengthen the muscle of self-control. 5. The power of the breath. Never underestimate it. One deep breath slows your heart rate, calms the nervous system, and gives you back that crucial pause. Reacting is fast. Mastery is slow. The more you practice, the more your mind adapts. Neuroscience shows that repeated mindfulness literally reshapes your brain's structure, building emotional stability, clarity, and calm. First, it feels like effort, but one day, someone will try to provoke you, and you'll feel nothing but stillness. Not because you don't care, but because you no longer need to react. And from that place, you'll see, you've already become who you were trying to be. Now, in the final section, we return to the core truth. and leave you with the final shift that changes everything. The storm will always come. Life will challenge you. People will test you. Plans will fail. Emotions will rise. But the question is no longer, how do I stop the storm? The question is, how do I remain still while it passes? Because real freedom isn't found in a life without chaos. It's found in the ability to remain grounded within it. Imagine a mountain, unmoved by the wind, unshaken by the thunder. It doesn't fight the storm. It simply allows it to pass, knowing none of it can touch its core. That's what emotional mastery feels like. Not resistance, not numbness, but unwavering presence. You no longer beg the world to be easier. You become stronger. You stop defending a fragile identity. You start embodying something deeper. You no longer chase validation or control. You embody peace so fully, the world begins to respond to you. And the paradox? When you let go of control, life starts flowing more effortlessly. People respect your silence. Opportunities find your calm. Peace follows your presence. Because now, you're no longer reacting to the world. You're shaping it, not through force but through stillness. So the next time something tries to shake you, pause, feel it, witness it, breathe through it, and remember, you are not the storm, you are the mountain.